2023, a year wrought with bloated budgets, underperforming, and disappointing movies. There have been some gems. One of them, I would say, would be the independent low budget horror movie Talk to Me. We will talk to you about it. This is Last Page. Issue 20 of Last Page. Look at us, 20 issues in. I am Maverick King, joined today by Rembo. Sadly, Jason Cedars was unable to join us today due to the fact that he was unable to see the movie, but the show must go on. We must talk about this, our first issue with just two people, so this will be an interesting discussion. We recently talked about the plight of the independent filmmaker, low-budget movies. You espoused your love for the low-budget movies, to which I was aghast that you could even say such a thing when all you do is talk about how much you hate horror movies. Why do you hate horror movies?
They are predictable. They rely on the exact same beats and tropes, and they are. That is the foundation of it. Is that the acting is usually terrible, and you have the exact same, just like, and this movie even starts off with, I was like, at a college kid party or high school party, I was like, oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I was like, of course, it's a horror movie and we're at a kid's party. Oh, what else is this? But luckily the rest of the movie was not so predictable. But that's the problem with horror movies, is that they are cheaply made, but not in a good way, where it's just, they just rely on jump scares and bad acting and predictability to make with the least amount of original thought. And I really do not. And I just don't like how they make me feel. That's really what it comes down to, more than just the fact that I don't like the movies, is that why would I put myself in a state of just being stressed out and or anxious or scared? Like, these are not emotions that I enjoy feeling. But the thing is with thriller movies is you get that level of stress and suspense, but usually there's more compelling stories written into a thriller than this demon's trying to fuck my face. And so I'm really and so that's why I really don't watch horror movies. I can count on 1, 2.5 hands how many horror movies, true horror movies, I've seen. And this goes on the list of the very, very short list. But I'm not a huge fan of these things. And but I was talked into seeing this somehow.
Yes. So like you said, you have this bone to pick with horror movies, despite the fact that you have watched a limited amount of horror movies. I do agree that horror movies, especially of the last 15, 20 years, have unfortunately gone down the path of jump scares, of very predictable, typically climaxing with a stupid CGI monster that's not very scary. So typically what happens is you get a first movie, a low budget movie that gets picked up by a studio, makes a bunch of money, and then a bunch of sequels come out that just suck and have no soul, and it's just made because it's a low budget and the box office did well. I mean, Insidious just had its 7th movie or whatever the hell, and it got terrible reviews. Nobody seemed to like it, but it made a ton of money at the box office. So it's a formula that unfortunately works, but I don't think we should let those movies overshadow the fact that the horror genre is a immensely important one of the history of film in terms of pushing the envelope of what you can expect as an audience, questioning how you feel about certain things. When you're watching a slasher movie, how do you feel about these, college kids getting sliced up? Is it done in a way where you're supposed to care about them? Typically, no. Typically, it's about the spectacle of, oh my God, this person just got their head chopped off. And it is in this completely artificial realm where obviously if you watched an actual video of someone getting their head chopped off, you would be sick for a while. This is a controlled environment, but it does push your limits. And I love old horror movies. Go back to Vincent Price and Bela Lugosi and these guys that took a genre that was, how do you make a horror movie in a time and space of complete censorship, of you're not allowed to show blood, really. You're not allowed to say any naughty cuss words. It was a very limited time back in the early Hollywood times, which is why some of those movies like Nosferatu and the silent era is so impactful, because it still stands the test of time. That movie is very well done. But then you fast forward to the 60s and 70s, and you started to get slasher movies, and it was all about how much gore can we do, because you used to not be able to do it, and now you can. Now you had the slasher movies, all the franchises with Friday the 13th and Halloween and all those movies. And now we are in a time where streaming services and still you get low budget movies. But every now and again, a movie comes along that is worth it, that it does not follow the same predictable beats of the movies you've seen a million times. And maybe it'll lead to a bunch of soulless sequels. But until then, it is fun to have seen the movie Talk to Me.
Who's up?
I'll do it.
Cannot go for more than 90 seconds. Am I clear?
What happens after 90 seconds? Talk to me.
A low budget, approximately $4.5 million movie made in Australia. As of right now, this movie's been in theaters 4 weeks, I think, something like that. It's domestic, what it's grossed domestically in the United States, 31 plus million as of right now, and 38 plus million internationally. That is a massive success based on a $4.5 million budget. This movie was directed by two gentlemen, two brothers, Danny Philippou and Michael Philippou. Both were YouTube creators. They made horror comedy like shorts on YouTube for a while. They were a part of the crew of The Babadook, which I was not a fan of, but a lot of people like that movie. So they've been kind of, they've been a part of some movie productions, but this was the movie that they were both co-directors on. A relatively unknown cast other than Miranda Otto, who plays Eowyn in Lord of the Rings. She shows up in this movie. Other than that, pretty much everyone, I did not know who they were. Let's start off with the basic premise, which according to IMDb, is when a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on the new thrill until one of them goes too far and unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. So you, Mr. I don't like horror movies, you watch the movie, your initial thoughts on the movie, the premise, the acting.
Non-spoiler, spoiler.
This beginning, we'll start off with non-spoilers and then give a quick recommendo, and then we'll dive into more of the finite details.
My kind of overall thoughts. Overall thoughts are it's short. It's an hour and a half, 90 minutes. Oh, what a time to be alive. In 2023, we still have 90-minute movies. Which I really, appreciate. A good movie that just doesn't waste any time. There are no slow parts of this movie. It does. I feel like it does pace itself beautifully. But overall, I thought it has pretty good visuals. I don't think it does. It's unsettling. I don't know the exact type of horror that this is. It's not super gory, but there's some gore.
Supernatural horror, I think, is the broad category.
I thought that the acting's pretty good. I thought the kids did a pretty good job. They're all pretty young. Miranda, nice to see Miranda Otto out there. I thought that there are some things that I don't know if they're plot holes or purposefully vague. I just have questions that we'll get into, but. Overall, as far as the horror movie goes, I thought I liked it. I thought it was pretty good, and it was creative in all the right ways, and does just enough of of adding or building the premise and giving you the supernatural key with the hand and kind of the story about the hand and what it does. And I don't know. It's one of those things that I don't. I'm not sure how, as we talk here, I'll see how many thoughts I really have about it. But it's one of those things where I watched it and I was like, okay, that was pretty good. But I wouldn't watch it again. all my other favorite horror movies, like, because I'm pretty kind of extreme on my horror movies that I like. I really like the first Saw. I would watch that again. I really like the first Scream. I would watch that again. Silence of the Lambs, is that a horror movie?
It is horror. It's horror thriller.
And so I'm a big thriller fan, which is why I lean towards those type of movies. But and so this movie, I feel like, yeah, it does a good job of being creative and not too tropey. Doesn't have a lot of real jump scares. That's a win, because I think jump scares are the cheapest thing that a bad horror movie does, is try to just like have these moments where it just turns around quickly and there's like, oh, the flashing lights and scare monster. Like, it doesn't really do a lot of that. It does have scenes with flashing lights and dark bathrooms and shit like that, but it does a pretty good job of avoiding the typical potholes. And so it's just one of those things where I watched it and just like, yeah, that's a good movie. That was a good movie that was made. Like, good acting, good directing. It's an A24 film, and this is only the second A24 film that I've seen. Is Northman A24?
I believe so.
If Northman is A24, it's the third A24 film I've seen. I've seen Northman, I've seen The Green Knight, and now this. I typically stay away from their movies because they are very heavy-handed in horror, and they're just not my type of movie. But that being said, there are some shots in this movie that almost felt like that, like Wes Anderson, the way that they're like, everybody's like perfectly framed up. They'll have like these like straight on shots, kind of wide, and they'll have like somebody like right in the center of the frame. I really like it. So I thought the cinematography of this movie was actually low key really good. And those are my overall kind of general thoughts. Would I recommend it? If you like horror, yes. If you don't like horror, I would not recommend this movie. But if you like horror movies, I would recommend it. I think it's good.
Yes, I really like this movie. It is I would say, refreshing. And I do feel like we've gotten a good slew of horror movies over the last year or so. Barbarian is an excellent horror movie, or excellent. I don't want to go too hard with compliments, but it was a great horror movie. M3gan, which is a Chucky-like, AI doll becomes alive, and that's a fun horror movie with some horror mixed in with moments of great violence, and then comedy. There is some comedic moments in that are laugh out loud funny. And this movie, Talk to Me, like, really, it's cool to see that, two dudes that just started on YouTube and were just passionate about making movies for no money, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're making a movie that made over $30 million at the box office. It's pretty awesome. So this movie, the acting, typically in horror movies is not why you're watching a horror movie. It's not for the great performances, but everyone in this movie is really good. It's really impressive. There was no performance that took me out of being like, In fact, that's one of the things I like about this movie, is that this movie doesn't do, it's not Raimi. It doesn't laugh at itself, or it doesn't have comedic moments like that. But there's moments where there's the scary horror parts where there's people in the movie are laughing. They're not taking it seriously, but you as the audience know you should be taking this seriously. And it really does that very well, where it doesn't make you laugh at the movie, even though the movie sticks with very practical makeup and effects when showing these monster characters. It sticks very practically, and there's times where it's it holds on these shots. Some are quick, but it holds on this person that's fucked up looking. And it does a really good job, because the lead actress, I want to give a shout out. The lead actress in this movie, her name is Sophie Wilde. Everyone in this movie, I believe, is Australian, or New Zealand, Australian. She is excellent. Really good job of being the lead protagonist of emotional, can be very vulnerable and sad, but can also be confident and funny when she's bantering back and forth with her friends. Joe Bird plays Riley. He plays the youngest character, who's kind of along for this ride. So basically, the basic most of this movie centers around that this horror hand. There's this hand, the embalmed hand, is basically a party trick, where all these high schoolers go to someone's house, because this hand, it leads to these very viral moments where people grab the hand, they say, "Talk to me," and all of a sudden something happens to them, and everyone's filming with their phones, and they got their phones up, and they're like, oh my god, and the person's like freaking out, and everyone's laughing, and they think it's hilarious. But the person comes out of the experience, even though it looked like they're having an exorcist. They're like, whoa, that was awesome. And so it becomes this like viral horror trick that goes from house party to house party. And obviously it gets crazier as it goes on. So we'll start to talk about spoilers. I would definitely recommend this movie. If you like horror movies, definitely watch it. Original, appreciate the acting, the ambiance, the sound I do like. And it's a low budget movie, so obviously they weren't going for crazy songs you've heard before, but they're these very Australian rap songs that are in this movie that are played throughout the movie that would be playing at these parties. And I did appreciate that was a part of the movie, was the very modern music that they used.
Yeah, that's the thing. I actually was kind of listening. I was like, do I know these songs? I don't think I did. I don't really feel like I recognized any of them. But yeah, they sounded like, let's say I think they were, used really well. And there are some, I mean, I don't know if it was just the theater I was in, the Fashion Valley Theater, but my God, it was loud. It was very loud.
I appreciated just how loud it was. Because yes, it was also loud. And I felt like the sound effects were excellent. And maybe part of it's just because it's so loud, but it's the opening scene. And yeah, we'll get into the spoilers as we go here. The opening scene is a high school party, and there's one guy who's locked in a room, and they have to bust down the door. His brother has to bust down to the door to get to him, and he's got like marks on his back, and he's clearly possessed or something. And he walks out, and he has a knife, and he slashes someone with the knife, and then
I think it's his brother. He slashes
his brother with his knife, and then he jams the butcher knife into his eye socket. And the visual and the sound of that was whoa! That was like one of those moments where you're just like, oh shit! Like this movie, all right, this movie's not going to pull punches.
Yeah, I did. That was exactly the feeling that I had. So very good on them for pulling that feeling out, because the way, as I say, stabbed his brother, and you're just like, oh shit, and then it looks like I thought he was about to just drop the knife or like just sit down or something. It looks like, and then he just turns and he does it super fast. Yeah. It's like just really fast, just chunk right into his head.
It's a full body shot. He's like
standing. It's like a silhouette.
Yeah, basically. It's not like a quick cut or anything. It literally just holds on him and boom.
Yeah, really. I was like, I'm sure my eyes were wide in that moment. And then that's just that's the opening, and then it's just kind of sets the stage. So things like I think at that point he's not possessed. Now that we're in spoilers, I think he's not possessed at that point. Because is Mia possessed at the end of the movie? Is she possessed, or is she just being visited?
Well, so we're using the word possessed, and it's not.
Because when they say
it's not that
I let you in, then they are being possessed.
Okay, so yes, they're being possessed, but there's moments, and this is where the lore isn't necessarily fully fleshed out. There's times like they're being possessed, where certain characters, as the movie goes on, certain characters start acting extremely violently, and yes, at that point they're being possessed. But then there's times where they're not as possessed, where they are acting like they believe they're in a different world. They're being told things by other characters in the Netherrealm. I don't know. There's not really a term for what.
I kind of took it as like a limbo or
a limbo. I think they use the word limbo.
Purgatory.
Yeah,
it's like an in between.
Yes. But they're all dead. Basically, what the hand is, it is a conduit to the realm of the dead. And so when someone grabs it, they see a dead person right there in front of them. And it could be someone that was drowned, that was like bloated and had barnacles on his face. That's like the first one you see. And no one else sees it. Everyone's just filming on their cell phones. And the person that grabs the hand sees it, and they fucking, they freak out. But then they go back, and the movie is very analogous to, I want to say that, I don't know if the Philippou brothers, if they knew someone that died from being a drug addict or an overdose, because this movie is basically analogous for drugs getting introduced to teens, and it's cool and fun initially, or so they think. But then the longer you go with the drug, it ruins your life and ends up killing you. So it did feel like a very analogous. I don't know if they had someone that died in their life. But yeah, did you get that feeling?
100%. Yeah. No, the way that it's like this kind of horrifying, scary thing, and then she comes out of it and she's like, "That was awesome."
Yeah.
And then when the scene actually I really like. It really felt like the way that they're acting. I don't know how intentional this was, but the way that when they have a little bit later when they have the part or when they're having this the scene when Riley gets possessed before that, and they have it's like the music plays and it's like a montage of everybody taking turns being possessed. It's I almost think of it like not Fantasia, but what's that the old
Three Amigos?
No. With the devil, the
Is
old
that
Disney.
Fantasia?
Well, but it's just one part.
Yeah, that's one part of Fantasia.
Where it's like all the demons are dancing to the music while the big supreme over devil lord.
I do
know what I'm talking
Fantasia,
about?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's Fantasia. Anyway, it kind of reminded me of that. It was very like a dancing with the demons, like the energy of this of the way the music plays and how everybody they're like having a great time, but you'll see they're all zonked out. It was like it felt like this is kind of like it's like a demon party.
Yeah, and that's a very good call.
And it felt I was like, oh, this is a really creepy, cool way of doing it. I really like that little scene, but. It's the level of possession to being possessed to being visited by, influenced by seems a little gray.
I think the idea is that the longer you're taking the drug, or in this case, the longer the more you do the hand thing, or in this case, the main Mia. Mia's main girl. Mia, like the more she goes back to it, or in the case, like she's too long, she spends too much time there, the worse the effects become.
Right.
So, yes, that it's fun initially. If in the movie they say, up to 90 seconds, right. Where basically you're tied to it, you grab the hand and then you have to let go before 90 seconds, or you're going to go too deep, which is what happens to Riley. Riley's the middle schooler who is being tags along with his sister. I think he's middle schooler, right? Or junior high.
Yeah, he's younger.
He's younger than the high schoolers. And so no one wants him to do it. And then eventually he talks himself into doing it. And he goes too long. And then that is another very violent scene where he's thrashing around and he starts bashing his head against like the wall. Because, he's seeing these demon characters. And what we learn later in the movie is that these characters or certain characters will start talking to you, and you start to lose your ability to figure out what is real, what is reality. Because initially, Mia's dead mother, she's communicating with her dead mother
through Riley.
Right.
Riley gets possessed by her mother.
Yes. And
who allegedly committed suicide.
Right. And that's where the movie does get a bit ambiguous, because it's not really clear. Initially, you think, oh, she's talking to her mother. Her mother is going to tell her the truth. And like she has this honest connection. And then as it goes on, you're like, wait a minute. I don't know what's like, is her mother a bad person? Is it just because she's in the demon realm? She's telling her all these not true things, or are these things true? And it is, but then that's what leads to her doing these violent acts, is that that initially you trust the mother figure, but then you're like, wait, I don't even know who's telling the truth and who's not, or who's at fault and who's not.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is interesting. It's one of those things that, I mean, it's so like when she's communicating with Riley, because what does she say in that moment? She says something to Mia about like, it's not your fault, or it's not the truth. There's something that she says. She plants a seed when she's talking to her through Riley. She plants a seed about her, like, not...
I think, I can't remember, does she say, like, I love you, and then she says, like, a name or, like, a pet name that she would say, or a nickname that she would say,
right? That,
like, she's like, oh, only she would say that, and that, like, gets her interested in, like, trying to use Riley, because Riley then, because he thrashed himself around, he is fucked up, and his body is messed up. He goes to the hospital, and meanwhile, Mia is trying to still use him to communicate with her mom. And Miranda Otto is the mom of Riley in this movie. And no disrespect to Miranda Otto, I thought she was great in the movie. I think she's a great actor. Yes. You can add her to the list of people that Tom Cruise's immortality has surpassed, because Miranda Otto and Tom Cruise were ex-wife, ex-husband in War of the Worlds, a 2005 movie that came out shortly after Lord of the Rings. And she looked like anyone in that movie, and Tom Cruise looked like Tom Cruise. And she has aged just like anyone ages. No shaming her aging. She's just aging like a normal person. But it just shows you, God damn it, Tom, what are you doing? I know it's just vitamins and like a keto diet, and
monochrome,
and antibodies, and good old exercise and a lot of water. Drink enough water. But damn it, Tom, it's just another one. Like there's all those pictures like Val Kilmer, what's her face from Top Gun. I mean, all these actors that Tom Cruise just somehow has stayed sexy and hot, and for some reason his co-partners in these movies from 20 years ago have not.
Anyway.
Sorry, did I start talking about Tom? Oh, that's what happens when I grab it. I grab it and Tom shows up. Oh, Tom!
Tom, I let you in.
Okay, moving on. Bonk. Anyway, the movie was cool. One thing that's cool is the budget's $4.5 million, as we've mentioned. However, the movie stays within its zone. It stays within its lane. It does not try to go too over the top. With it, the horror, violent moments are spread out, and it does not culminate in big CGI stupid monster. It is just, more makeup and practical effects, and like we said, jump scares being absent. One really unsettling part is Mia's in the room, in a dark room, and in the corner you see you can barely make out a figure, and you're like, what? And it just holds on it. And then the figure is dark and it starts moving towards the camera, and no music, no sound. And it was like, oh, it was scary.
Think about the lady,
yeah,
that sucks on the toes.
Oh god, that was so that was again and to bring it back to horror movies and their need and their effects and why they're fun thrill rides, or can be fun thrill rides, is because they get you to curl your toes and you're like, oh god. And it's not someone getting sliced in half. It's not a Saw movie where someone's getting butchered. It's literally a dead person sucking onto this dude's toes. And it was so gross, and it might be the grossest part of the movie.
It honestly probably is. That was nasty. God, that was nasty. Yeah, and I don't know why you would want to feel like this watching horror movies.
Because it's like spicy food. It is spicy. It's the spicy food of film. Where, why do I like to eat spicy food? Because it's an experience of I got to challenge myself to go through this spice, this heat. When you're watching a horror movie, it is making you feel things but it's in a safe environment.
See, you know what I would rather do? I'd rather go on a roller coaster. A roller coaster puts you on that verge of feeling like you're going to die, but then you get to the end of it and you're safe. But
I'd say that to the guy that gets his head chopped off because the ride, he stood up too early or whatever.
Sounds like his problem. That's it. That's his problem. You're stupid enough to stand up on a roller coaster.
I mean, but there are people that die. There was a guy that was too large. He was a large fellow. I mean, and I want to be sensitive because this is a real person. He was a large fellow, and he got on a ride, and he was too big for the ride, and it was one of those that goes straight up, and he fell because the thing didn't click in time. So that could happen. That will not happen if you watch a horror movie.
But it doesn't make me feel grossed out. It just shoots my adrenaline up for a few seconds, minutes, and then I get to come back down to earth, and it feels great. And I'm like, oh my god, I survived.
Yeah, to each their own.
But yeah, I was gonna say, if we're just it is interesting. So me, obviously, as the main character, and it going through from her perspective is just it's cool the way they do it, because the guy at the end, or that guy at the very beginning, Duckett, who stabs his brother and then kills himself. That is who Mia is going to end up becoming.
Right.
That's exactly who she becomes. She slowly loses her mind and her ability to decipher reality from fiction. And then basically ends up becoming violent, murderous by the end of it, thinking she's kind of doing the right thing. I feel as though her mom, I go the route of her mom is dead and trying to lead her down the path to death.
Right.
That's how I take it. I do not think that when her dad is reading her the note, it's interesting because she's like, I'm not in, like, in the note, she's like, I'm not in pain anymore. But there's never anything said about her mom being depressed, having cancer. There's nothing that would make, like, it's this kind of a little detail that did bother me. Like, because it's either obviously a lie, where in the note, and her alleged suicide note that he holds back, it's either obviously a lie because he does, like, she looks happy in the videos that they have together, and it doesn't, like, they don't say she doesn't say anything about her being depressed, doesn't say anything about her having an illness, and then in the note, so I was confused in that moment where I was like, this doesn't really, I don't understand if her mom would have had any reason to kill herself.
Well, it might be suicide. A lot of people affected by suicide say that, that when a loved one commits suicide, a lot of times it comes out of the blue. And I think in this movie, it is, I don't know if that's what they were going for, or if it is ambiguous, because you get scenes with the father that's still alive, talks to Mia in these kind of one-off scenes throughout the movie. And it kind of just continues to build towards him giving her the note of, like, trying to show that it is not necessarily clear. Because at first I'm like, wait a minute, did the dad kill the mom and he's been hiding it? And the daughter, like, knows that something's off. Mia knows that something's off and that he's not telling her everything. And then there's a comment about, blood being under the fingernails. So it is confusing as to what necessarily. I'd have to watch the movie again to get a better idea of what they were going for. But I thought that mostly it was trying to be ambiguous as to whether or not she killed herself on purpose, on accident, or if the dad was involved. But it seems like once everything pans out, it seems like that the note would have been real, because there's nothing that indicates that the dad was malicious.
Right.
Because he ends up getting stabbed by Mia in her demon state. But again, or the mom's trying to take revenge through Mia. I mean, it is, again, I do believe that the dad's innocent this whole time. But it is I did appreciate that there was an ambiguousness to the movie, that it wasn't just, here's every single thing laid out. And they do a good job with the lore of the hand, where they just say, where did you get the hand? Oh, it's, came off some, like, palm reader or something, and, like, they embalmed the hand, and I got it from some guy. And they kind of leave it open enough where they can fill in the gaps with a sequel that has already been greenlit, because, of course, I'd like to think, and the two directors are coming back, so that's good, because a lot of times
the only thing better than a horror movie is a horror movie sequel. I'm sure it'll be great.
Maybe?
No way.
Come on!
No, dude, horror movie sequels, I mean, how many horror movies have had good sequels?
I know.
They're made, like, almost none. There are good initial horror movies, almost none. No, almost no horror movie sequels.
I have not rewatched. I've seen all the Saw movies. I have not. Why? I don't know. I have not gone back and rewatched Saw 2, 3, 4. I don't think I've rewatched any of the Saw. I think I've seen them all, except for the first one. I think I've seen basically Saw 2 through Jigsaw, or the newer one was Spiral. I just watched Spiral with Chris Rock and Samuel Jackson, which was laughably terrible for the first half, and the second half was, like, decent. Was like the second half was decent, but the first half was, like, laughably. It was a COVID movie, so it was very COVID-y. But like all those movies, like, I never gone back and rewatched them. But I do remember 3 being a great sequel to the first movie, and building more lore and stuff like that. Every now and again, there's a good horror sequel, but with the directors returning, because that's the whole thing. Typically, the first movie is a big success. Right. Director goes on to do something else. They hire someone else to do the writing or to do the directing. So since these guys are coming back, maybe they have ideas on what the lore would be and how they could expand it and keep it cool and interesting. But we shall see. I do like the ending of this movie. The movie, you don't know where it's going. Right. It's not like, oh, this is a slasher movie where we're just waiting for Jason to get to the last person and then he's going to die. She is on a full bloodlust mission to kill Riley. Yeah, that's where it leads. Kind of at the end, basically, she ends up getting convinced by her her spirit mother, the spirit, the demon mother spirit thing. She gets convinced that the only way to save Riley's in pain, and the only way to save him is to kill him. Like, separate him from his body. And so that's her basically at the end. That's what it ramps up to. She stabs her dad in the neck, thinking, again, being tricked by
the spirits or by the demons, thinking that her dad's attacking her when in reality he's not. And so then she stabs him, nearly kills him, goes to the hospital to try and kill Riley. And a very, maybe a little too on the nose, I felt that ending scene when she brings him back as the wounded Joey to drop him in the
oncoming traffic.
In the oncoming traffic, a little too on the nose for me. Like, I didn't need the full circle. Like, she could have just tried to push him off the ledge or something, and it would have been kind of the same concept was already there. And they already did they showed the Joey spirit, the Joey dead spirit, hopping off.
Right.
So I felt like that was maybe a little too on the nose.
Yeah.
But I like where they were going. I like the idea. I like where they're going with it. I did early in the movie, but they made me forget. Early in the movie, I was like, youngest kid, not going to die. He will not die in this movie. No matter what happens, and then I totally forgot that I had made that prediction. And then I got to the end of the movie and I was like, oh, I was right. I didn't even die. But they got me. I didn't know at the end. I really wasn't sure how I was going to go there.
Yeah. It didn't know how that was going to play out. It is a cool way of, because she takes Riley up to the edge, and then you see a car coming and you think that she's going to you're going to see this incredibly violent. There's another movie I want to reference, but you haven't seen it yet. Oh, you're never. Anyway, where you think it's going to be this crazy, you're going to see just the wheelchair and this 18-wheeler is just going to smash through it or something. But no, there's a car that hits something and then it goes flying, and then next thing you see is Mia picking herself up off the pavement, and she's bloodied. And that's what's cool. What comes full circle is that she ends up looking like the dead people that they were communicating with, as she is now dead because she's been hit by the car. And so now the movie culminates in her then seeing a flicker of a candle, because the whole point of the ceremony, or one of the parts of the ceremony, is there's the hand and they light a candle. And that's always just kind of a horror thing of summoning spirits, that you light candles. You're like, what the fuck are you lighting a candle? But they bring it to actually mean something in this movie, which is pretty cool. Of she sees as a dead person, she doesn't know what's going on. She tries to communicate with her dad, who I believe is still alive, and he doesn't hear her or see her. And then she sees this candle, and then she goes to it, and she reaches out, and some person in some other country says, talk to me in his language at a party with everyone looking, and boom, cuts black, which I thought was really cool, that they lore build where it's not just the words talk to me, it's talk to me in whatever language.
Yes, right. It is the same hand though, right?
I don't know.
I think it's the same hand, because the hand is left at, where is it? It's left at her place.
Yes.
And they show it because there's that one last scene where they show the hand. It's on a mantle, or not, it's on a windowsill with some cushions. And that's the last scene you see it. I think it's sometime in between when she stabs her dad and when she goes to the hospital, I think. And then so you see the hand there, and then it's fast forward, and these guys are using it somehow. So I'm not sure how they got it, but assuming it is, it's the other hand. Maybe it's the other hand, because they said is there another hand? They make a comment about there being another hand, so maybe that's it. Maybe there's another. It's the other hand. That would be cool. We just need 2 arms and 2 legs and a body and a head, and we'll have the whole guy.
That's the whole trilogy. The whole franchise will lead up to recreating Frankenstein or whoever the hell. So yes, final thoughts and ratings. I think we've already kind of said everything. I give this movie an 8 out of 10. Really appreciated this movie. Acting was great. The actors, the music, and you said the cinematography earlier, when the dead on shots of the hand and the person grabbing it, and then everyone just staring at you. It was pretty cool. In fact, I will say this was not dissimilar from recently. We were at a wedding, and over the wedding weekend of festivities, we played whatever game it is where you take, you have a name, you put it on your forehead.
Yes.
And I will say, was I slightly altered state of mind? Possibly. And when I did this and I look and I see a dozen people just doing this, that's how the shot was. And that's how, it would feel.
Do not fuck with us.
Oh, well, got Olivia Johnson. 2 movie references from different movies. But yes, 8 out of 10. Great movie. I'd like to think the sequel would be cool, but you never know. But enjoy this one for what it is.
7.5 out of 10. I'll say I like my halves. So I could almost give this an 8, but it's a horror movie, so I'm like, an 8 for me is I will rewatch it. This one I think is a really solid watch through, but I don't think it really requires a second watch because I think the things that are confusing will remain confusing. That's the thing. I don't know the level of the differences between ambiguity and confusing. Like ambiguity is purposeful, confusing is accidental, maybe.
Right. Yeah.
And so I don't know how much of it's like this is too confusing. It could have been laid out better. So there's a couple things in there that I wish maybe were a little bit more clear, but that's maybe just my personal desire to have it laid out for me. Yeah. But yeah, 7.5 out of 10. If you like horror movies, I definitely do recommend it. I think it's definitely worth a watch through. Solid acting, really good. I say for a bunch of kids in a horror movie, they really bring it. And I think they all do their parts really well. And yeah, I really don't have anything bad to say about this movie. It clears any sort of real negativity that I wanted to spew about.
Yeah, I will say, and that's